Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again for another episode of Your Pleasure Incorporated into Daily Living. I'm your host, Ellen Nicholas Rathbone, sensuality consultant and soon to be certified life coach with the Brave Thinking Institute. So excited about that. But tonight, what I want to talk about is the pleasure of being a human and the fact that we are able to have a physical pleasure like no other animal. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the blended orgasm. Now, orgasm in itself is nice enough, whether it's ejaculating out of a penis or whether it's, coming through a clitoris. The bottom line is an orgasm is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But the human body is a wonderful instrument of pleasure. And if we can elevate the basic act of procreation or just sex for its healing benefits, it is something of a wonder. It is a delight. It is a pleasure that is not only good for your heart and your mind and your body, it is good for your spirit as well. We are sexual beings. If we are not sexual beings, then our civilization would have ended a long time ago. So, since this is very much a drive for us, why not create it into one of the most beautiful experiences each and every time? And just like any other art, it is a learned art. I always say that just because you own a pot and a kettle, or you have a couple of ingredients in the kitchen, that doesn't mean you're a master chef. You can have the parts, but that doesn't mean you know what to do with them. And it's the same thing with making love. Just because you have breasts and a vagina or a penis and nipples, that doesn't mean you know what to do with them. So it is something to learn, and it is something to revere. And if you want it to be one of the most beautiful experiences of your life, then it has to have some respect for yourself and respect for the person that you're with, because then it elevates it from a basic act to something that's much more beautiful, much more meaningful. Now, there are all kinds of techniques out there for producing different kinds of orgasm. I've already talked about pâté d'araignée, which is a full body orgasm. I've talked about the big O, which is the clitoral orgasm, and also about the vaginal orgasm and how exquisite that is. So, what is a blended orgasm? A blended orgasm is when both the clitoris and the G spot are actually exploding simultaneously. And for the male, it is the same time when his penis and his prostate are exploding at the same time. Now, this is something that does not normally happen. It can happen, but there's some preparation that needs to take place. And if the preparation has taken place, and if the people are open to this kind of pleasure, then everyone who is open to this kind of pleasure and has prepared potentially has the ability to enjoy a blended orgasm. But I have found that for many people, it is a matter of what is okay with society and deciding if something is good or legit or worth trying or kinky or sick or whatever. So if you're going to put titles and names on the body's ability to have pleasure, you have a problem, because the body is a wonderful, wonderful creation. And we were not given all of these erogenous zones to ignore them. Now, if you have an issue about the prostate, for instance, because for the men, that's his G spot. They call it his P spot, but it means the same thing. It is the area that ejaculates or creates the fluid that carries the sperm forward, so that if the prostate is excited at the same time that the penis is being excited, and they both have the ability to explode at the same time. Okay. For women, it is the G spot. And the problem with a lot of women and enjoying a G-spot orgasm, number one, they don't know where the G-spot is. It's only 1.5 inches up on the front center wall, but it varies in size. It could be as small as a dime. It could be as large as a quarter. And it's usually 12 o'clock, but sometimes it's a little to 1 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock. It could be anywhere in that area of the vagina. So a lot of women have not necessarily found it. Plus, they don't exercise. They don't do their Kegel exercises. If you do your Kegel exercises, you are almost guaranteed to be able to have a vaginal orgasm because you've prepared the area. You've sensitized it. If you ignore the vagina and the only time you ever pay any attention to it is when you have your period or you're using a tampon or it's being used for sex, you're not going to have that kind of orgasm. That orgasm has to be prepped for, and Kegels are definitely the way to get there for her. So what is something like this? This is something that takes time. It is something where body parts that are normally not stimulated, like for him, his prostate. Now that could mean directly going in to touch it, or if you're skittish about that, tickling up on the perineum. The perineum is about 1.5 inches below the prostate. And if you tickle up on the perineum, you are indirectly stimulating it, which if you do it long enough and with the right delicate technique or the technique that your lover prefers, because they should tell you, no two people are the same, then that kind of build up for that area along with stroking is a wonderful way to reach a phenomenal conclusion for him, both of the penis and the prostate having an explosion, an orgasm at the same time. Now, I just want guys to be understanding something. The ejaculate that comes forward when you're having an orgasm is not the orgasm. The orgasm happens a nanosecond before that. That's just a physical release of what has happened inside your body. But I guarantee that if you could preserve that liquid and not allow that explosion to come forth from your body, that you could actually have as many orgasms. And what is an orgasm? It's a build-up of tension and then a release. But you cap it off so that you don't release the sperm. It takes practice. It absolutely takes practice. There's a whole books written on this subject. I cannot tell you about it in 25 words or less, but it's definitely doable. And every man who has a penis and a prostate can make it happen. You have to have a little discipline. You have to have a little desire. And you have to have the ability to allow yourself that to happen. Since for many, it takes place via the rectum. That's for many. And a lot of people associate that with being gay, but it's not gay. Gay is something else going on. Men have been enjoying the prostate since time immemorial. So to say that all men who enjoy the prostate are gay is wrong. It's just wrong. And it's really prejudice born out of religion, okay? And some ridiculous traditions that have been built on for thousands of years. But bottom line, if you can appreciate any part of your body, good for you. From the more socially accepted nipples to the less socially accepted prostate. Don't cast aspersions on your body parts, because if your body parts think you don't like them, you'll end up having problems with them. Nobody wants to hang around where they're not appreciated, okay? And it's the same thing for women. I mean, not that women think about their G-spots and berate it. Very fortunately, women like the fact that they even have a G-spot, those that believe they have one. And they are seeking that kind of pleasure. There's no societal prejudice against a woman having orgasm via her G-spot. But a lot of women have issues about their feet or their underarms or their breasts or their butts or whatever. They have all kinds of issues and they berate those body parts. I strongly recommend that you start falling in love with yourself. I strongly recommend that you start appreciating every single part of you. And remember, every single part of you has a reason to be there. Every single part. Some of the functions are more mundane, but others, that same body part, can be used for the most delicious, exciting, satisfying, wonderful sensations that the human body can make. And guess what? The human is the only species on the planet that can have a blended orgasm. That's kind of incredible. And that's because we have consciousness and because we can raise our level of expertise and technique to a whole different level of pleasure. It's kind of funny. There's some people that think it's perfectly wonderful to be able to enjoy your body. And then there's a lot of other people, because of whatever religious dogma or doctrine or prejudice that they've been carrying around with them for all their lifetime, think it's not. So who do you think's having more fun? The person who's not carrying around the prejudices from thousands of years ago, I bet. Anyway, I am very, very happy that you have tuned in tonight. The most important thing is to love yourself and to cherish the fact that you can have wonderful, explosive orgasms, to experiment. There are individual orgasms, the way most people have them, but the fact that we both, male and female, or androgynous, or whatever you want to call yourself, as long as you have the parts and the desire, and you've let go of the prejudice and are willing to accept sensations that you have not premeditated or wrong or whatever, then you will be able to have a double header orgasm or a blended orgasm. It is the most phenomenal, exciting, intense gift that human beings can have. And I wish many for all of you. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Your Pleasure Incorporated into Daily Living. I am your host, Ellen Nicholas Rathbone. I'll be back next Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me. It was great. We'll talk about something spicy again next week. If you like this, please share it, because Facebook will not allow me to tell anybody, because I actually said the word penis. All right. So, of course, if you say the word penis, they don't want you to talk. So spread the word. I'm here every Wednesday. I love to answer questions. So if you come with questions, please do, or send them to ypi69@hotmail.com. I would be happy to answer any of the questions that come through to that email and post those answers, leaving you anonymous if you want, on a next show. Thank you so much for joining me. Join me again next week for another phenomenal episode to talk about the greatest gift that human beings can have, and that is our sex life. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye for now.